Here's my 2003 GMC Sierra 2500 HD. This truck has been fitted with a Perkins 354 diesel. The engine is typically found in farm tractors. It has a Borg-Warner T19 4-speed. The truck clearly has a Silverado front clip. Now I know to some people you're going to vomit looking at the electrical, but the reason why I left the engine computer and whatnot, so I can use the original gauge cluster in the truck for the fuel gauge, temperature gauge, oil pressure gauge, all that's functional. Also the speedo works. The engine definitely weighs a lot of cast iron. The truck does not have a body lift. Clearance on the firewall definitely was a bit snug. It is not originally a turbo engine. This is just one of those chicken lo mein turbos from eBay. And then this elbow that is made here, that's a midnight mistake. When I originally put the turbo on here, I had anticipated it to sit a little differently. I have dual alternators, I'm trying to show there. I have the GM power steering pump. Installed a V-groove pulley on it. This has Hydro Boost. This is original to the truck. So basically everything power steering wise and whatnot, they're all original lines. This clutch master is from an 85 Ford, same with the Slave, same with the hydraulic line. The pedal inside the truck is actually a modified brake pedal from the same style of Chevy truck. The throttle is a cable throttle from early 2000s. It's the same body truck. I had to use the whole pedal. These filters here are for the engine oil. Fuel filters are behind there. The access to those are horrible. So the story is on the engine is I was out in New York and I was buying something completely different, irrelevant to what this is. The guy opened up his garage door and this was sitting inside there. So I had to ask about the Perkins. The story is on the engine. There's a company in Ohio that fit these engine in a Ford truck. And apparently this was one of the engines that was swapped in a truck that had an inline 6 gas engine. So I guess there's some aftermarket parts about it, or custom parts I guess, that make this engine different than what you would find in a Massey Ferguson or a Waite tractor. They have this intake cut and welded and it's elbowed this way. I think typically they go straight up because typically a tractor has a turbo kind of up high. The fan is very compact, kind of hard to see it down in there. The fan is not large at all. It's definitely enough to keep the engine cool, but it's not anything overkill by any means. The truck got rusty and they decided to bring it to a scrapper, but they hung on to the engine. So this guy never had something to put it in, and I picked it up off him, and this is where I wanted to put it. I typically plow with this truck. Works great. I also fitted the engine with a gear reduction starter. That helped tremendously on starting it when cold. This engine does not need any ether in order to start. It does have a Duramax radiator, which is fairly thick. The radiator is mounted as normal. Coolant hoses are a bit of a debacle. A lot of them are just what I had, so I just made it work. I'm definitely not out to go and brag about the quality of workmanship on this. Just wanted to show what I did, because not every day you see a farm tractor engine in a pickup truck, or I guess depending on your point of view, seeing a boat engine in a pickup truck. The fitment of the left hand side of the oil pan was really tight to the front end. The engine is actually not centered. It is a little bit out of center. I tried to gain as much clearance as I could on the front end. Did a front diff drop kit. I lowered the front differential a couple inches. That definitely did a lot of good. There was a hefty amount of JB Weld on there because I had made a mistake and cracked the oil pan. It needs to come out so it can get welded properly. This is the Borg-Warner T19 4-speed. The Borg-Warner T19 is mounted to this GM NP261 HD transfer case. This is a transfer case you would find in this vintage of GM truck. The drive shaft is stock length. Although this shaft is actually welded in the center, it's just because I didn't have the right drive shaft for an extended cab short bed GM truck kicking around. The exhaust is 3-inch, has a glass pack, just a very basic exhaust. This rear end would be found in a Duramax or 8.1 truck application. Mounting the Borg-Warner to the NP-GM transfer case was a bit of a challenge. Big part of the challenge was the spline count. I can't remember offhand the spline count, but I think I was dealing with a 31 and a 32 spline count situation. And I was able to use a input shaft from an NP271 HD transfer case, which is a transfer case you would find in a Ford application. It had the correct spline count to match the Borg-Warner T19. The input shaft was almost a direct replacement for this NP261 transfer case. I had to get a different size bearing for the input shaft in order to make it work, and also had to cut a different groove for a snap ring. But other than that, which really didn't take very much effort, I was able to bolt this up to the transmission. It also has a 6-bolt clocking ring, which I had to oblong a couple holes, but it really wasn't too much trouble in order to get these bolted together. And this is a look at the bracket for the front diff drop. This front drive shaft is original. The whole goal of using the GM transfer case and locating it in the same spot so that I didn't have to get any custom drive shafts. to 60 right here, starting in second gear. Three gears. Fourth gear is 1-to-1. Top speed is about 65 miles an hour and the engine is about 3,000 RPM.